Okay.
So I'd like to welcome you here, Joe. First of all, to kind of get things started a little bit, just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, the kind of work you do, that kind of
Sure. So I'm Joe Phillips, and I am the Director of Technology for Kansas City Public Schools. So uh, typically in another organization, my role would be that of a CIO with educational technology mixed in. So all the traditional business and organizational information technology stuff that you could think of, as well as ensuring that the educational technology pieces of that focus on teaching and learning are also part of the strategy that we do here. So typically for my role, I advise our CFO, our cabinet, our superintendent, our board on technology matters. I create the strategy and direction for technology for our school district. And I also partner with other district leaders to make sure that the use of technology aligns with our strategic plan and what we're trying to do, as well as making sure that it's effective and efficient use of technology.
Okay. So the reason, thank you for that. And the reason I wanted to talk with you is, as much as we might enjoy your work on the technology side, you are very, very active on social media in terms of promoting your team, promoting the work that your team does, and the students and so forth, and really kind of the overall goal. I guess, tell me a little bit about that, because it seems like that is maybe this is unfair, but it's perhaps uncommon for somebody in your position to be so active communicating and telling the world about what your group does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's a great question, Chris. So for me, telling our story is vitally important to telling the story of our district and telling the story of our students within our district. So when I came to Kansas City Public Schools, it is an unaccredited school district. The technology was 15, 20 years behind where it should be. And that was really impacting what the capabilities of just creating potential for our students was. And so I wanted to come in and really change that narrative about what we were doing with and for our students, and not just get our students, but our community also to understand that our students are worth all of the work and all of the effort that we are putting in, and they are worth the very best technology resources, the very best team that we can put together, and really just turn kind of what was a negative story about our district into something positive for our district, and just really show the work that goes into turning something like this around.
Okay. So, I mean, it would be really easy for you to just kind of do your job and be done with it. I guess, why is it so important to you that people see the work that kind of goes on behind the scenes, how the sausage is made, so to speak, and the
Sure.
people that are doing it?
Yeah, I think first I'll focus on the people. Technology folks are typically not highlighted in social media posts, and a lot of people have a lot of mystery about what it takes to run a technology department, what it takes to run a technology department for a school district. And when people think of technology, they might think of those people 20 years ago that kind of hung out in the basement and would fix your tech issues. And what I really want to show through our social media is that we have real people that care about people. And yes, we love technology and the work that we do there, but we're here for the impact that we can have on the teaching and learning of our students. And by having the impact that we can have and helping to digitally transform our district, we're able to take kind of the most vulnerable student population in our geographic area, the Kansas City metro area, and really help them be able to achieve their full potential. And I personally, my passion is about taking that technology and integrating it into the educational setting. And by highlighting the people and the work that we're doing, it honestly makes our job a little easier to get those things done. People like our story, they like being part of our story, and that really helps. And one of the other things that's really beneficial is our community sees our story, they see the work that we're doing, they see the people behind the scenes that are doing the work. And that really helps, because when it comes to anybody's story, whether you are in an organization or you own an organization or whatever, you can either allow people to make up your story, or you can make up your story and show that to people. And so that's what's really important for me, is to show people what our true story really is, because otherwise they're guessing and they're speculating, and they are taking what they see and building their own narrative.
So how did it occur to you to start to do this? I mean, this is not something that comes naturally to a lot of people, even people in my line of work who are professional communicators. It doesn't necessarily occur to us to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and show the world what we're doing and how we're doing it. How did that? How did you arrive at the conclusion that this is a good thing to do?
Yeah, so I think for me personally, it was just a matter of when I got hired here at Kansas City Public School, I was really charged with two things that my boss told me because I said, "What do you want me to accomplish my first year?" And her response was, "I would like you to rebuild your department, rebuild credibility, reliability." But two things she said was really important was promote people within your department and promote your department because the credibility and reliability of our department was just not very good. I mean, with tech that was 15 to 20 years old, computers crashing and dying all over the place, skill sets weren't up to speed. So I kind of took that and I ran with it. I'm sure she meant within the district promote the department, but I really thought about, okay, how do you promote a technology department in a school district to a school district? I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not, trying to accomplish things through the promotion, other than just building this idea of who we are and what we're doing and the positive things that we can do for these students. And then what I really started to see was the applicants that we started to get in for the department. We started to get more and more applicants to our department who were following me in our story on LinkedIn, and they wanted to come and be a part of our story here and do the work that we were doing. So that was probably 60 days in to my posting at first. And then I realized, oh, wow, just the social media itself can make a big difference on our department and on our district. And so then I started thinking about, okay, what kind of things can we do to continue what we kind of have going here? And so it started off with applicants talking about how they found out about the job or, that they wanted to be part of our team and the things we were doing. And then it turned into ways that we could start recognizing our staff and getting the word out about the great things that our staff members are doing. And originally, when we started that, it was kind of just, I believe in praising in public and then, disciplining in private. And this was a way that we could tell their families and their friends and that kind of stuff, the great things that they were doing at work. And that actually went way beyond just families and friends of our staff that we were trying to give recognition to. And it, again, kind of built this, I don't like the word brand because we're not a company, but it built kind of this story about our department and the work that we're doing. And then more and more people want to be part of what we're doing. And then organizations started to reach out asking how they can help our department do work and that kind of thing. So it's really been kind of this weird, wonderful ecosystem of people getting excited about the work that we're doing and wanting to help us. And ultimately, it all helps our students.
Mm-hmm. So, and I don't want to put you on the spot here a little bit, but do you have any stories, short stories that you want to share in terms of, the people that that work on your team and the kind of work that you're doing? I especially imagine right now, as you and I are talking, people might be listening to this at some point in the distant future, but right now it's July 21st, 2020, and schools are struggling with the idea of reopening and providing technology for distance learning and things like that. I guess talk a little bit about, the kind of work, and maybe tell me a story or two about the kind of work that your team is doing.
Sure. So one of the greatest things that my team had to do immediately, we shut down for spring break, and then it was 2 weeks. We were going to shut down the school to kind of flatten the curve. And then we were going to all come back and everything was going to be great. But we realized during that 2 weeks that that wasn't going to happen. And we had to completely transform how our district did teaching and learning as well as business. So my team had to pivot incredibly quickly. We had to change our support model of how we did technology. We had to change how we could get technology to our students as well as our staff. We had to set up a lot of virtual things for our staff so that their phones could ring, their computers could work, and they could have internet and do their jobs from home, and our students could learn from home. So we rallied this tight-knit group together and really did that work extremely well and extremely quickly. And we highlighted the things that we were doing on social media. But one of the other things that we did is we handed out food to our students, and just highlighting that work and putting our students first in whatever their needs are at the moment is what we're really trying to build the culture of our department to be. And I think that handing out that food to our students, and we did some tech stuff on the back end, we had to track the meals and the students, and we did some technical stuff there, but just getting out and handing out food to our students was probably the best way to serve them in that moment once we got the tech taken care of. And so that's what we focused on. And I think that that's probably the best story that I have. As we lean forward to school opening in the fall, we're still continuing to pivot. We're working on what school's going to look like for our staff and students in the fall. And every time that we pivot as a district, it's the technology staff that has to make sure that it's all going to work, whether it's getting Teams or Google Meet or Zoom working, making sure that how is printing going to work when people are remote? How is remoting in to provide technical support going to work? So it's all part of the story of how we continue to pivot and continue to keep our organization working and functioning.
Okay. So you mentioned that your approach has been to basically tell the world in terms of the kind of work that your department is doing and the kind of work that your people are doing and the things that they're accomplishing. What has the reaction been, I guess, from the outside world, for lack of a better term? What kind of feedback have you gotten?
We've gotten really, really good feedback. The type of stuff that we share, I'll just give you a couple of examples. I've had some leaders at some other organizations all over the country reach out to me and say things like, hey, you've really changed how I highlight and treat our team, because on my team see your posts about how you celebrate your people, and they a lot of times people go, why don't you love us like Joe loves his people? I've gotten that probably 3 or 4 times a month, that word love, from people calling me and asking me how I might advise them on how to get started with posting about their teams and that kind of thing. And I think really what it is it just goes back to celebrating in public and criticizing in private. Mm-hmm. And public has really changed in the last 5 years of what that means. It used to be that your organization might have an awards ceremony or something like that every year. But it's really those small things and really just highlighting the simple work that our team does every day that keeps them going. It keeps morale high. It keeps them wanting to be here and be part of the organization, part of our vision, part of our mission. And I think that outside people see that and they want that too. And it doesn't really matter what type of organization you work in. I work in a public school district, and that's very important to me to do public service, but you can work at, one of the biggest private organizations in the world. You still want that sense of waking up in the morning feeling like you have purpose, feeling like what you do matters and that you contribute. And I think that that's what people are really connecting with.
So how are your people, how have they responded to this approach? I mean, you've described the idea of showing them a lot of love, and I like that term a lot. I think that has a lot of applications across any type of organization and any type of audience, whether it's, in your case, employees or customers in other people's cases. How have your teams responded to that?
Yeah, so at first, I'll tell you, it was really challenging. I had a lot of people that don't like their picture taken. They don't like, recognition. We have a lot of kind of B introvert personalities in technology that, technology usually attracts that type of personality. So at first, there was some resistance to it, and I was only highlighting people that were comfortable with it. But as people kind of started to dip their toe in the water, they really started to enjoy, I guess not them themselves necessarily being highlighted, but they started to enjoy the feedback and the culture that was getting built and being part of that. And so they mind a lot less now. And I'll tell you, one of the greatest things that we've done is by creating our Tech of the Month program here and creating our highlight video for Tech of the Month. That's probably been one of the best morale type things that we can do. So we select a Tech of the Month every month. We have a balloon trophy that we pass down from all the previous Techs of the Month, and we pass that down to the current Tech of the Month. And then we do a highlight video, and we do our very best to, at the end of the video, find their family members or people that are important to their life to also say something about that recognition, which has been really great. So we're trying to figure out how we can do that in our new COVID environment and still get all of that done. But we'll be getting back to that this month with our Tech of the Month video. And it's just been important, and people want that type of, not necessarily recognition, but it makes them feel like what they do matters. And I think that that's what's really been changing the staff and the culture here.
Okay. So how do you, from an executional standpoint, you know, you mentioned the Tech of the Month videos or anything else. I mean, it seems like from what I've seen on your LinkedIn feed and so forth, it's pretty much just you taking a picture with your phone or whatnot. I mean, how do you, and you mentioned the Tech of the Month videos, I'd imagine it's a little bit more than that, but I guess what do you do from, you know, an execution, you know, technology standpoint? I mean,
Sure.
do you hire like a full video crew or just kind of do it yourselves, or what, how do you do it?
Yeah, so we just we do it ourselves. We have a small video crew here that makes like our training videos for technology training. But really, with our Tech of the Month video, it's as easy as taking your phone and just getting some people on camera to talk about that person, and then we just edit it all together in Adobe Premiere. And it can be, you know, teachers that they've impacted, students, principals, parents, our superintendent, other people in the department, just talking about that person and the impact that they've made. And then we just kind of string it together. It's real simple. It's real low in terms of quality of what we're needing to put in that video, because it's not about having this high production quality. It's about recognizing that person. And what's great about these videos is they last forever. And so, you know, our first Tech of the Month, I remember that, you know, it's been this big thing for him. His name's Greg Wright. He's our senior network engineer. He's been in the district about 30 years. And he has told us that this year has been the best year of his life and of his career because of how he's been treated over the past year or 18 months. And so it doesn't take a lot to be able to recognize and show that type of love to your staff and to your people.
So I think that, and that's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's really information that I think a lot of organizations can learn from in terms of, you know, the importance of the story and the content that you're telling as opposed to the production value. I mean, production value is great, but it doesn't always have to be a fancy, glitzy kind of thing. It's really about the story that you're telling.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think something that I think a lot of organizations and maybe departments within organizations might kind of suffer from is this, and suffer is kind of maybe a strong word, but this this kind of humility in terms of, you know, we're just doing our jobs. The work that we do is, you know, it's not changing the world. And, you know, some might say that, you know, that's true of an IT department, for example. You know, they're kind of behind the scenes making sure everything runs, but it really is important. I think it's true of a lot of different departments, if not every department. So talk a little bit about why your department, the work that your department, or even any department in any organization, is more than ordinary.
Yeah, so I would say, you know, wherever you are, you're there to make a difference. And we have a philosophy here that we call our rocks and balloons philosophy. So we have a vision and a mission of what we're trying to accomplish here. And when you think of kind of a birthday bouquet of balloons, they're all pulling in the same direction. They're all going up, and it can take just one rock to hold everybody down. You know, there's usually just one weight holding that whole bouquet down. And so what we do here is we look at our staff and we say, you know, are you a balloon? Are you a deflated balloon that just needs some helium to go in the same direction as everybody else? Or are you a rock holding everybody back? And the way that you can really determine that is, how do you feel about your work? Are you waking up every day excited to go to work, excited to make an impact on the work that you're doing? If that answer is no, you either need to change something in your work environment or you need to change your work environment. And that's okay. I think that a lot of times we go into jobs and we're really excited when we first start a job because there's something about that job that got us excited. And we either end up, you know, disillusioned by the job once things get real after about 6 to 18 months, or we just get used to the excitement. But what I recommend to everybody is look at the work that you're doing and what it is that your organization or your team, what they are really accomplishing in the world. And, for me, it's really easy. It's public service. It's hard. It's gritty. It's a lot of work. We don't get paid enough, but we know that when we wake up in the morning, we're making an impact on students' lives. It's really easy for us to connect those dots. But even if you're in a private industry, I've worked in private industry, I've owned 2 companies, you're still making an impact on people's lives. You're providing a service, you're providing something that people need either to do their jobs, to live their lives, to do something. So you have to find that way to connect those dots. And for me, once those dots are connected, I keep highlighting those dots over and over with my staff so that they never lose that sense of what they do is important, what they do is special, and that we need them personally here to do the work that they're doing.
Okay, excellent. So last question, and this is going to be somewhat repetitive, but to kind of wrap it all up a little bit, why do you think it's important to celebrate the work that your team does? And, for somebody listening to this who might have a team of their own, why is it so important to celebrate your team?
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, Chris, I can answer that with your last question, which is that sense of ordinary.
Mm.
It's really easy to fall into the grind or the rat race, or what you do is mundane, or you're just doing a job or something like that. That's, kind of a baseline that your employees can fall into. And if you don't celebrate them, you don't celebrate the work that they're doing, you're operating at that baseline. And, we can talk about that in terms of morale and how much people love their jobs, but in a real physical sense, it impacts your MOEs. It impacts those measures of effectiveness and those measures of efficiency. Employees who are passionate about the work that they're doing are going to work harder. They're going to, take less breaks. They're going to be more invested in your organization. They're going to want to be there, and they're going to want to put in hard work. If you don't celebrate them for that, that's going to go away. They're going to get down to this baseline where, they're punching a clock. They're coming in just to do a job for a paycheck. And, in some organizations that might be okay, but you're never going to get the best out of your staff unless you highlight those achievements that they're doing and you get them to understand how special and important they are and why their work matters.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I think that's a great way to kind of wrap things up here. Thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks a lot.